Hi, so we are here today with Shawn Adams from Texas Tech University School of Law. And Shawn is going to tell us a little bit about Texas Tech, and then we'll have a bit of a discussion about how to be an awesome applicant. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining in, signing in, however you got to us today. So I am a native Houstonian and was not from the Lubbock area. And if you don't know where Lubbock is, it's at the bottom of the Panhandle in Texas. So we are sort of in the Plains area. And it's a great school. Texas Tech is, in the center of Lubbock. It's right in the middle of the entire city. And Lubbock is a small town of about, well, if you're from an area like Houston, like me, it's a small town of about 350,000 people. And it's very much a college town. We are called the hub city because there's not a whole lot around us. We are the hub for our region. But it's a tier 1 research university. We are the top best value law school in Texas and number 16 in the whole nation. We are number 2 in the whole nation for American Bar Association competitions for negotiations, mock trial, moot court, brief writing, things like that. And we're number 25 for legal writing in the country. So it's a phenomenal law school and a phenomenal university to be a part of. Because we are one of the largest, not the largest, but one of the largest contiguous campuses in the US, we actually have the medical school, the law school, all the undergraduate and graduate programs on the same campus. We do have some satellites. There's one in El Paso for pharmacy, and we just opened up a veterinary school in Amarillo. So that's about 2 hours north of us. But for the most part, everything is here on one campus in Lubbock, which allows us to offer 10 dual degree programs. So if you're crazy and want to get a dual degree while you're in law school, and I did that, so it's not that crazy, you're able to do one of those 10 degrees while you're in law school, with the exception of the JD-MD program. So if you want to be a medical doctor and a lawyer, you can actually shorten the amount of time for both of those programs by adding them together, but you do have to take the MCAT and the LSAT and be admitted to both of them. And you can't do them at the same time like all the other 9 dual degrees. But of the other 9 dual degrees, if you decide to do, let's say, an MBA or a Master's of Science in Sports Management or accounting or environmental toxicology, there's so many different ones to choose from. You actually start with law school. Once you're admitted, you do your first semester of law school, get that under your belt, see how that's going, and then you can apply to one of the other dual degrees using your LSAT score. So you don't even have to take a secondary GRE or GMAT. They take your LSAT. They figure if you're smart enough to go to law school, you're probably smart enough to do the other programs. So the way that I did it was I applied in my second semester of my first year of law school and started my MBA classes over the summer. So I took classes in the summers in between my first and second year and my second and third year. So your first year of law school, you're doing nothing but law school. You're not working, you're not doing anything else. It's purely focused and immersion into the field of law. But then I was able to do my classes over the summers and take one class each fall and each spring and graduate in the same 3 years with both degrees. So it doesn't add any time, which means you don't have another year of tuition and housing and all those other things because you're doing them in the exact same time. The most annoying thing for my family was that they had to come to 2 graduation ceremonies back to back on Friday and Saturday. And those are long, y'all. But no, it's a fantastic law school. One of the things that makes it stand out, actually, there's several things that make it stand out. We do things a little bit differently at Texas Tech than most law schools in the country. One of the things that we do differently is your very first year of law school, we don't make you wait until your second or third year to do inter-school competitions. So you can start in your first year of law school in your first semester doing negotiations competitions with your classmates. And so that's kind of cool because you choose a partner. It could be anybody in your whole class, does not have to be in your section, which I'll discuss in just a moment. And you and your partner go up in a March Madness type bracket against other partners. And each time that you went around, you get points. And if you go into the next round or you go to finals, you get bragging rights and you get points. And if you bailiff or witness for another team for mock trial or moot court, you also get points. And what these points add up to is in your second year of law school, you, the top, I'd say 20 students, 25, something like that, get invited to be on the board of barristers. These are our elite advocacy students. They typically are the ones that go out and win us national championships. We love them very much. They even have their own student lounge in the school. They call it an office, but it has a couch and a refrigerator, so I'm going to call it a lounge. Another thing that we do a little bit differently at our law school is if you're in a clinic in your third year and we have 8 live clinics, what that means is these are working, you're actually doing real cases with real clients from the Lubbock community. And if you're in one of those, you actually are assigned your own clients. And what that means is, I know you've seen Legally Blonde or How to Get Away with Murder, things like that. In those shows, for some reason, they start them in your first year, which, by the way, you will never be in a clinic your first year of law school. But in your third year, what they do is they put you on a group of students to handle a case. We don't do that. You get your own clients. They are assigned to you and you handle their case. And you're not shadowing an attorney who's doing all of the work. You are actually doing all of the work. You do have a supervising attorney for each of the clinics. Have a supervising attorney who supervises the students that are in that specific clinic. But from day one, you get assigned your own clients. You are responsible for meeting with them, investigating their case or hiring an investigator, building everything, documenting with the courts. You personally will go and negotiate with the opposing counsel without your supervising attorney. So this could be the prosecutor in town, this could be the IRS, Social Security Administration, another attorney, whatever it is. And if it goes to a hearing or a trial, you cannot go by yourself. This is when your supervising attorney comes in. You can't practice law on your own, so you do have to have them with you, but they will come to court with you and then they sit and you represent your client in court. So it's the best training wheels ever because you are doing all of the work for an entire year before you even take the bar. So you're practicing law, but it's on their license. So it's kind of the really great training wheels. But so those are some of the things that we do sort of differently. In your first year of law school, you will only do classes. You're not going to work, like I said. So, you know, if you want to have savings ahead of time, that's great. Otherwise, you can take loans. I took out loans to cover, you know, my living expenses and everything. But you're purely focused on law school. I told you I'd talk about sections. We usually bring in around 150 students each year, and those students are broken into 3 sections of around 50 students per section. So your cohort for the entire first year of law school is going to be that same group of students. And then we also have a class called Legal Practice, and that runs the whole first year of law school. So both fall and spring semester. And that class will be more like 15 to 20 students instead of the 50 students that you're used to. So you really get that one-on-one attention. The legal practice class is the one where you learn how to write a memo, write a brief, do a contract, a negotiation, and how to speak in court. So it's actually legal practice. So you're getting those tools under your belt. And then in your second and third year, this is when you can start choosing your electives, sort of focusing on what you want to do. A good way to figure that out, some people go to law school and know exactly what type of law they want to practice. I was one of those. I served in the Peace Corps before I went to law school, and I did a year with AmeriCorps working with first generation, you know, undocumented students. So I had a passion for immigration law. And I came to law school and I knew that was what I was going to practice. And in law school, you get to join different student organizations, including in your first year. And I highly recommend doing this. I joined the Immigration Law Association, ILA, and I spoke with immigration attorneys and learned very quickly that I did not want to practice immigration law because I didn't want to cry at my desk every day. So not a very good fit. So I also started law school thinking administrative law was the most boring thing that you could do with your life. And I love it. I ended up, when I graduated from law school and passed the bar, I ended up working in administrative law in Title IX. And did that for 4 years or 3.5 years. So I loved that. And now I work in, you know, higher education, which still has a lot of administrative law attached to it. So you never know what you're going to get interested in. If you come in with a specific goal, allow yourself to be a little flexible in that. Join the different student organizations. They bring in speakers from all different types of law. Going to those meetings, first off, they feed you. So go get your free meal, but listen to them and see if it sparks an interest that you never knew that you had, or lets you know, I definitely don't want to practice that type of law. But then, you know, after your first year, you do kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like. I thought I was going to love constitutional law because civil rights and all of those things. I hated constitutional law. So, you know, you find what you like, and you can kind of create your path that way. Everybody graduates with the same Juris Doctorate, so it doesn't matter. We have concentrations. I'm going to show you some of these websites in a little bit that will kind of point these things out. But we do have some concentrations in business law, in law and science, and I can't remember the third one right now, but I know that we have it. And you can definitely do those concentrations. What that means basically, though, is that they are determining what electives you are going to take. So if you want to leave yourself a little bit more open, you don't have to do a concentration, and you can pick whatever electives that you want. The great thing about all your law classes are they do build on the, each class kind of builds on, new information based on what you learned in your first year. But you're going to be doing the same things over and over and over again. Kind of the same thing. It doesn't matter what clinic you get into because you're going to be practicing the same skills. So, if you're in a criminal defense clinic and you've taken a lot of criminal law classes, and then you get out and you're like, I think I just want to do business law, or I want to do family law. Guess what? You've learned how to read statutes. You've learned how to, look at case precedents. You've learned how to apply that to your facts and sort of, maneuver it in a way that's helpful for your client. You've learned how to talk to clients, build their cases, negotiate with others. You've learned all of these skills. So you're still prepared, even if it's not in the classes that you specifically took, which is another great thing because we have a fantastic career and professional development center in the law school. And they can start working with you. There used to be an ABA rule that they had to wait until, I think it was October of your first year before they could talk to you, but that's gone away now. So they can actually talk to you even before orientation, once you're admitted to the law school. And I tell students, go talk to them, let them know what you think your goals are. And what I mean by what you think your goals are is those might change, but talk to them. They're phenomenal at helping you with resumes, cover letters, mock interviews, salary negotiation workshops, etiquette dinners, what fork to use. They help you with networking events and do on-campus interviews, all of these things. But also, once you graduate from Texas Tech and you're a Texas Tech Law alum, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, if you decide to change legal fields and work in a different one, you could be a business law person now and go work in space law, which yes, I will explain to you in a little bit, but that's kind of cool. You could be a space lawyer. They will help you connect with people that are already in that field. And like once you're part of the tribe, you are always part of the tribe. So that's another phenomenal little perk. But another thing that makes us stand out is our community. And I hope you guys know this. If you've had the opportunity to go and visit law schools, that's great. I was one of those. I did not want to spend the time and money to visit a law school outside of where I lived, unless I knew that I was admitted. And the reason for that is twofold. A, I didn't have the time and the money to just go visiting all these different places. But B, I didn't want to get my heart set on a place that I didn't get into. That was just a personal choice, y'all. But, coming from Houston, there are several law schools there that I could go and visit. Or if you're visiting, friends and family in other cities, go check them out if you can. But I started visiting them after I was admitted, and, go and see the different ones. Every law school has a very different feel, a very different vibe. And here's the thing. Some of you listening to this may be those people who thrive in a cutthroat, hyper-competitive, dog-eat-dog environment. And if you are one of those people, there are amazing law schools out there for you. Texas Tech is not one of them. So if you're one of those people who thrive in a supportive, cooperative community where the students are friendly with each other, the faculty is very friendly and open and, easy to speak with, that's a type of community that we have. And not every law school has that. So you have to find the one that is just right for you. But that's what I think is unique about our school is not only are the students friendly and cooperative and collaborative and collegial, we hang out with each other in, outside events. We do a lot of fun things both on and off campus, but the faculty also joins us at a lot of different events. And they have an open door policy that's a real legitimate open door policy. So if you have questions or if you just want to get to know your professor and have no questions about the law, you can do that. If they are in their office and not in, in a meeting or on a phone, their door is going to be wide open and you can just go talk to them. So kind of cool. Sorry, that was a little long-winded.
No, I appreciate that. I often tell students, obviously, that Texas Tech is a fantastic deal, but I also always point out that every student I've had who's gone to Tech Law has been very happy while they were there and has had a job when they got out. So that those are pretty major points in your favor.
Well, and that's, I'm so sorry. You just reminded me, and I did want to say, I've been to Denton and I love Denton. It's a great little, I love your square. I love eating food there and just listening to music, and it's very cool. Texas Tech has, or I'm sorry, Lubbock has a similar vibe. One of the things that I love about it, especially as a native Houstonian, is we don't have traffic. Unless it's game day or graduation, there is no traffic here. And we have our own parking lot, and the commuter parking lot, if you can't get into our main parking lot the first year and you get put on a wait list, the commuter parking lot is 1 block away, right across the street. So, you don't realize how important that is until you're sitting, white knuckling your steering wheel for an hour in traffic trying to get to school on time. Here, I like to make the joke, and you've probably heard me say it already, but if you wake up 20 minutes before class, you will not look good, but you will get there on time. So it's a perk. And the cost of living in Lubbock is so low, y'all. It's incredibly low. That was another great perk that I was not expecting. So.
Yeah, I think one of the sort of impediments that students see to tech, and I'd love for you to address this because I know there is a good answer, is that that's not where they want to end up, right? They don't want to end up in Lubbock. They want to end up in Dallas or in Houston or in Austin. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you use an alumni network or how you use career services in that way.
Absolutely. Do you mind if I share my screen? Because this kind of
Please.
brings up a really good thing, if I can get it working.
Yeah.
See. Okay. So this is our online interactive brochure, and I'm going to send you guys all of these links. You guys will have these later on, but this is the interactive brochure. And I'm going to come back to, these pages in just a second, but if you can see, we are a uniform bar exam state now, Texas is. So that really opens you up. All of the different jurisdictions that are in red on this screen are uniform bar exam states. So you can take the bar exam in Texas, and depending on your score, you can transfer it to, these other places, which means you could be barred in more than one state off of one bar exam. And that's amazing because you used to have to take the bar in each state that you wanted to work in. But as you can see, just from this last class, or just from, I believe it's the last 3 years of students, our students are in more than 130 cities all over the United States. The only state that we do not have a student in is West Virginia, because we can't get anybody to go there and stay. But so we are everywhere, and our alumni network is in every type of law that you could possibly imagine. I will talk about space law, I promise I will get to that. But as you can see from here, the breakdown of where our students go, we only keep less than 20% of students stay in Lubbock. And some of them are from here. So I think it's the low cost of living and knowing that you can live at like a slower pace and still enjoy life. That's why people stay in Lubbock. The majority of our students, our biggest feeder schools are, of course, Texas Tech, but also A&M and UT. And we also have a lot of UNT students. We have students from Houston, but those are our biggest feeder schools. And those students tend to go back to the Dallas, Fort Worth area, the Austin area, the Houston area. So our students are spread out everywhere. It used to be, this was truth a while ago. And if you listen to old attorneys give you advice, older attorneys, not old, they will probably tell you that you should go to school where you want to practice. I think that that's just sort of an outmoded idea now, because really the law is so widespread, and because we have social media, because we have Zoom, because we have all of these different things now, you don't have to stay in one region after you graduated. Your alumni network is so easy to get a hold of now. It's not you having to fly to them to sit down and have a meeting. You don't have to do that anymore. So catching up with alums, networking with different cities and different states is so much easier now. And it really does open up your world to going to school wherever you want to go. We have quite a few students now in this class that just started this fall who are from California and plan on going back and practicing in other areas, maybe California or maybe outside of California. And they're able to do that, you know, after going to law school with us. So I don't know if that was helpful.
Super helpful. No, I really appreciate that. You're right. Back in the old days, like when I graduated from law school, like you said, you had to take the bar in the state where you were going to practice. And I took the Pennsylvania bar, and there were people who left after the first day so that they could go finish taking the bar in New Jersey so that they could take 2 states on the same, you know, sitting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they were driving hours and hours the night after the first day. The uniform bar is just the greatest thing ever. And I really appreciate the idea that social media has made the network a lot easier to maintain. Because again, that's something new.
There's a lot of people who no longer even have to travel for interviewing because they're able to do it online now. So I still love in-person interviews because you can't pick up on people's tics and things like that without seeing them in person. But yeah, I mean, the internet and everything else has really opened up our worlds and changed the way that law is practiced and the way that networking is done. You can also see a little bit of the employment breakdown and see that most people go into, you know, law firms and private practice, big law, things like that. And then all the way down to almost 2% became professors out of law school. So, you know, but one of the cool things, if you do, when you come back to all of this, you can actually hover over and see where things are interactive. So this one, for instance, would bring you to the Career and Professional Development Center. If you hover over dual degrees and click that, it'll take you right to that. So, you know, when you're playing around on these, it's great that these are so interactive. Do you mind if I go back to, oh, sorry.
No, I was, no, go back to whatever. I was just going to say that sports management option, it seems like a really great idea. I have a lot of students who are interested in sports management and sports law. So, you know, and working in the field. So that's really cool.
It is really cool. And we're one of the few in the country that offer that. And so that's really phenomenal. One of the great things is when you go to the dual degree page, so it'll look like this. If you scroll down, you can actually click on the different ones. So if I clicked on this MBA one, it would show you the coursework and the classes that you would need to complete the MBA. And the same thing with the sports management. It tells you how many hours you need, the order that you can take them in, that if you try to start the program before law school, you can only earn up to 12 credit hours, or you have to complete the master's degree before you go to law school. It'll tell you the different contacts as far as the advisors for both the law school and for the kinesiology, I always say that wrong, and sports management program. And you can click on the different curriculums and it will tell you how many hours that you need. So you know exactly what you're getting into. The other great thing about the dual degree programs is, again, you don't have to make up your mind about even applying for one until you're in your second semester of your first year. So if you're thinking about it, you can kind of check it out. You can talk to the advisors ahead of time. And then if you decide to do it, you know exactly what you're getting into. I was going to go over the profile with you guys. So we received, typically our law school receives around 1,100 applications. That was pretty typical for us prior to COVID. Any of you who have been in this process for a little bit or have gone down the rabbit hole of Reddit, which by the way, stay off of Reddit. If you've been looking into what the process was like last year, everything nationwide applications went up everywhere. So it was a little bit more competitive to get in. This past year, we went up from our 1,100 typical to around 1,600 applications, and we're up even slightly more than that from last year. So it's going to be another one of those competitive cycles. Like I said, we bring in around 150 students each year. This last year, we brought in 158. And again, we split you into 3 sections. And so the average class size of the first year of students that are in right now is around 55 students. Our median GPA is a 3.56 and our median LSAT is a 157. Those are important numbers to see how competitive you are with other, other applicants. It kind of tells you what our wheelhouse is as far as numbers. If you are at or above those numbers, not only are you looking good for getting in, but as long as you're applying, we accept applications between September 1st of the year before you want to go and March 1st of the year that you want to go. So within those months, as long as you're applying before March 1st and you're above the medians, you actually stand a good chance of not only getting in, but getting scholarship money. And we have all the way up to a full ride plus a stipend. So I think our lowest scholarship is 1,000 coming in. And then, we go all the way up to a full ride plus a stipend. It does not matter what you major in. You can major in anything that you want to do. And I recommend that you major in something that you love, regardless of what it is, because you'll keep your grades up and eventually you'll have a degree in something that you actually want to use. So if you decide not to go to law school, you'll have a degree in something you want to do. But yeah, we've had 41 majors represented in this last class. We had over 60 different universities and colleges that those students came from. So they come from all over the US, and we had 19% first generation. That means first generation in college for your family. And we had 36% students of color. So lots of diversity, which is awesome. Yeah. Here's our tuition. Everybody pays in-state. You guys are in-state, so you don't have to worry about the non-resident. But if you were a non-resident, you still get to pay in-state tuition. Our debt to income is just almost 1%, which is phenomenal. So we are one of those best value schools. The best value rankings are based on the overall cost of attendance. So when you're looking at law schools, it's important to look at tuition and fees, but it's more important to look at the overall cost of attendance so that you really know what you're getting into as far as debt or loans or whatever. The overall cost of attendance includes tuition, fees, the cost of living in the area where the law school is, books, transportation, and miscellaneous, other things. So keep that in mind when you are looking at all the law schools that you are admitted to. Look at the total cost of attendance and look at the bar passage and the employment rate. We do well in all of those. So you can see our ultimate bar passage was almost 96%. And so we do really well on the bar and we do really well on employment coming out. When you're looking at employment and you're doing your research, which hopefully every one of you is doing for all the law schools that you're thinking about going to, you want to look at gold standard employment. And what that means is full-time, long-term, bar passage required or JD preferred jobs. So they're not talking about, yeah, all of our students had full-time jobs when they graduated. Some of those were at Starbucks, but you want to make sure that you're actually working in the field of law that you want to be in. Again, this is interactive, so you can click on Trial Advocacy here, and it will bring you to our Advocacy, which again, we're number 2 in the nation. So we beat the Ivy Leagues in competitions. You can also click on our clinics. We do love to put together videos. So you can see videos of our students talking about their experience in clinics, in advocacy competitions, and all of that. But here you can learn about all the different types of clinics that we have. We have an innocence project, we have a tax clinic, criminal defense clinics, family law and housing, civil defense clinic, and ADR, which is Advanced Dispute Resolution Clinic, very long name for mediation. So lots of different ones there. Let's go back. And journals, if you want to write on a journal, those publications, you can actually publish not only in our journals, but in other journals from other law schools if you'd like to do that. So you can submit those and be published in a lot of them. Community service and pro bono service are very important to us, and we actually have a 30-hour requirement for all students before you graduate. 30 hours in a whole 3 years is not a whole lot of time. So some of our students actually compete for the most hours because there is a service project award that goes with that. But this is our admissions website. And when you find yourself here, this is where you're going to find lots of great information about our law school and also about the application process, which I'll give you guys some tips and tools for doing that. First, let's get through some of these links. So this is just a typical tour. It's a digital tour of our law school, and it's led by students, so you get to hear from them. These links over here are actually important. That's why we call them important links. So if you're looking around and trying to find information about our law school, more than likely it's going to be here somewhere. This one right here, it's at the bottom, but it's actually in my consideration, I think it's the most important link on here. And yes, I am biased because I did write it, but it's our frequently asked questions page. And it answers just about any question that you would have about our law school and about our application process. So I think it's kind of cool. The Why Texas Tech Law link is another video. Again, we love our videos. This talks about why students who got into programs across the country and across Texas decided to come to Texas Tech. So they tell you about our core values, they tell you about what it's like to be in Lubbock and all of those good things. So I think that that's super helpful. This is our frequently asked questions page. So again, this answers almost any question that you would have about application fees, application deadlines, parts of the application, what we have to offer, how you apply, all of those things. So we're a very traditional school. We are a full-time on-campus 3-year law program, and we have a fall start. So we don't have, different start periods like some law schools start in the spring or the fall. One starts in the summer, spring, or fall. So, we're very traditional. This, again, will take you to the dual degree programs that we offer, talks about whether or not you can specialize in a particular type of law. Again, you come out with the same Juris Doctorate no matter what, but we do have concentrations that you cannot take it online. We are not an online, we are not a part-time, we are very much a full-time in-person program. I think this is important for people who are considering law school and trying to figure things out for the first time, maybe freshmen and sophomores. This is really important, letting you know, again, you can, you can major in anything that you want to in undergrad. What I am going to be looking for is how well you did in research and writing intensive courses. So if you are a music major, if you are an art major, something that doesn't have a lot of writing, I still want you to choose to take some writing intensive and research intensive courses so that you can show us that you have those skills coming in. So it's more important to have a high GPA than to, specifically go into. I know a lot of people think that you have to be political science or criminal justice or, philosophy, things like that. Those are great. If you love them, that's fantastic. I was a psychology major. I had friends who were archaeology majors. You can literally major in anything and still get the skills to, be a great attorney. Does your undergraduate school matter? No, we love people from all different universities. So, go someplace that you are comfortable, that you are happy, that you are going to thrive. What activities should you participate in? I get asked this a lot. Should you do a law firm internship? The answer is yes, if you want to, if you have that opportunity. But if you don't have that and you don't do it, that is okay. I did not do one. I never even talked to a lawyer before I went to law school. I don't know how I ended up in law school, but I didn't know any lawyers. I'd never done a law firm, internship. I never interned with, congressional internships or anything like that. If you can, awesome. If you want to, great. If you don't have that, that's okay. Joining pre-law society, really good. That's a really great idea. If you want to be part of moot court and mock trial and things like that in undergrad, those are phenomenal. You really get to talk to people that are going into the legal field, and it helps prepare you. And I look at that on a resume and think, okay, so they didn't panic as seniors in college and decide like, okay, I'm going to take the LSAT because I don't know what else to do. If you have been in pre-law, if you have been in Phi Alpha Delta, if you've been in moot court and mock trial and all these other things for a couple of years in college, it tells me that you had a lot of forethought coming into this. So those are really great. As far as other external, extracurricular activities, Those are great, but I do not want you to do them in lieu of getting good grades. We've had, and occasionally, is people who had lower GPAs, lower LSAT scores, did not really prove themselves academically, but they said, well, wait, but I was president of my fraternity or sorority and president of this club and president of that club and, secretary of this and all that other stuff. It's great that you can show your leadership skills, but I would really prefer you to show your academic skills. So, just kind of take that with a grain of salt. Here are the different application requirements. Everything that you do to apply to law school will go through your lsac.org account. So if you don't have one of those, that is your very first thing that you can do to get ready for law school, is start one of those. You'll need a valid LSAT score. They're valid for 5 years. We will take your top score. The LSAT is not a fun exam. It's a terrible exam. It's horrible, but you do have to take it. I never sugarcoat things. The LSAT was not fun for me. There are some people out there who love it, and bless you if you're one of those, but I definitely was not. But you do have to do it for us. We do not accept the GRE, so you do need an LSAT score, and we are going to take your top score. It costs you time and money each time that you take the LSAT, but you can take it as many times as they will let you, and we will take your top score no matter what. We can see all of your other scores, and I can also see if you registered for but were absent the day of, or if you took the exam and then canceled your score. So I can see all of that, but we are going to take your top one. You have to have one LSAT writing sample to be able to submit a complete application. So make sure that you were doing that at least once. You don't have to have more than one. You don't have to do it if you're taking multiple LSATs, but you do have to have one on file before you can be marked complete. Transcripts. Your transcripts have to come from every type of college credit that you have. So hopefully, maybe for you, if it's easy, all of your credits came from UNT and you don't have to worry about getting them from any place else. But if you're anything like me, I took some community college classes because I wanted to get my basics out of the way for a lot less money. And so I had to get transcripts from my community college and from the university that I graduated from. If you did dual credit in high school, hopefully you took those classes seriously, because yes, those actually do affect your GPA. They will recalculate your GPA. The LSAC will recalculate your GPA. And this is one of the ways that they do that. They will tell you how they convert all of your grades. So again, you're going to have this link later on, but it will show you how your grades are converted. So the GPA that you graduate with, if you have college credit from other places, will not be the same GPA that's reported to the law schools that you're applying to. If you, during COVID, if you were given the option to take pass-fail classes, if you passed, that will not affect your GPA one way or the other. If you were given the option to take pass-fail or a letter grade, and you got an A or a B, hopefully you took the letter grade. If you passed, again, that's not going to affect your GPA one way or the other. Sadly, if you failed, that will affect your GPA. So just letting you know how that works. You can read all of this yourself, but just, you should know how that's going to work out for you. You're going to need a personal statement. Good news. If you go to our recruiting events and virtual resources page, which again is right here on that important links. So if you go to that, off here to the right, you will see some presentation videos, and these are not fun to watch. So I tell people treat them like a podcast unless you just want to watch me talk at the screen. But there's some really great information in here. I did these with I'm speaking, but so are law school admissions people from other law schools. So you're really getting really well-rounded information from law schools all over the country. But how to write a compelling law school personal statement. That would probably be a good one if you're stuck on what to write for your personal statement. We give you advice on what we love to see, what we hate to see, and give you some examples that hopefully will inspire you if you're kind of stuck on what you might want to write. And I can go into more of that a little bit later on if we have time, if you'll remind me later to give you tips on that. You'll also need your current resume. Here's a trick. Keep that up to date on LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn, go ahead and start one, put a professional picture up there. One of the things that I have on my own personal resume is I don't put my street address. I know some people put their personal addresses because that's an old school way of doing your resume. I stopped doing that because A, it's a little creepy. There's no reason for you to know where I live. And if you do want to know where I live, that is on my employment application. So it is going to be on my application, but it doesn't have to be on my resume. What I do instead of that is I put my LinkedIn, the address for my LinkedIn account. And so that tells them, go ahead and Google me, go on my LinkedIn, it's going to look great. But if you keep that up to date and you keep your information on there current, it's really easy to keep your resume current because you can kind of just copy and paste and then format it a little bit. 2 letters of recommendation. Some law schools will require more, some will require less, some don't require any. Ours is exactly 2. And what I want from these is I want them to be either academic, both academic, or 1 academic and 1 employment. Or if you're listening to this, you're probably still in school. So I'm going to want at least 1 academic letter of rec from you. But let's say that you graduated, you got out into the world and you've been working for 5 years. I'm not expecting an academic letter of recommendation then. Those can both be employment ones. But here's what I'm looking for in them. This is a place where people kind of goof a little bit. If you scroll down, you can actually see all of the information that I'm giving you. So multiple LSAT scores. Do I need more than 1 transcript? What do I write on my personal statement? What to include on the resume. It's all here, y'all. But the 2 letters of recommendation, the thing that I like to tell people here is I do not care about the prestige of the person who is recommending you. What I care about is if they know your work ethic. That is what I'm looking for when I'm reading your letters of recommendation. So I don't want a character reference. And the reason I say this is, and if you listen to the other videos that I have out that I told you about on the virtual resources page, you'll hear me repeat this. But if you live next door to a judge and your mom is best friends with a senator, unless you have clerked for them or worked for them in some capacity, they are not your strongest recommender because they will tell you they've known you since you were a baby and you come from a family that's salt of the earth, fantastic people. You are just wonderful and you work hard in school and you're just a great person to be around. But they can't tell me anything about your work ethic. All they're going to do is repeat your resume. And that doesn't tell me anything new. What I'm looking for is somebody that can critique, do you show up early? Do you stay late? Do you go above and beyond in a research paper or a class presentation or at your job? Do you ask for more responsibility? Did you struggle at any point? I love an underdog. If you struggled academically and your professor says, when they started the class, they were very shaky, didn't quite understand the material, but they came to office hours, they went to tutoring, and they really put in the effort. And by the end of the class, they were the best student. I love that. That tells me a lot about your work ethic. 2 of my favorite employment ones were actually from a bar manager for somebody who was a bar back. I know that has nothing to do with law and I don't care. By the end of it, I was like, man, this person is such a hard worker and such a good person to be around. I think they'd be a great fit. I've had them for, families that somebody nannied for. Find somebody that really knows your work ethic and can really speak to it. And if you're a freshman or a sophomore or, a junior right now is a great time for you to be setting up and cultivating those relationships. So, identify the professors that you think you want to ask for a recommendation letter and then go and talk to them and say, hey, at the end of the semester or a year from now, I'm going to be applying to law school, 2 years from now, whatever it is. Could you keep an eye on me in the classes that I have with you and, kind of take note of how I perform in class so that when I ask you for a recommendation letter, you have something to write about. I think that's a very strong way to do that. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell students that at a minimum, it's a good idea to let faculty know that you're thinking about law school, because when I know a student is pre-law, I'm looking at them through that lens. I'm sort of observing, not just are they a good student, but will they make a good lawyer? Like, what are the characteristics that are going to be helpful when they go to law school and when they decide to practice? So yeah, I think it's really a great idea to be very strategic and purposeful in cultivating those relationships. Absolutely.
Makes it so much easier for them later on because they'll already kind of know what to write. Keep them happy. Character and fitness. You need to report anything that we ask you for, even if you're embarrassed about it, even if you think that it won't like, oh, if they know this, they won't let me in. You have to report it. You have to disclose it. Err on the side of disclosure. It's really not that bad. We don't talk about you outside of, when we're reviewing the files, we're like, okay, so they disclose this, it's fine. There's not a lot of things that will keep you out of law school based on your character and fitness disclosures. There are a few: murder, domestic violence, armed robbery, things like that. Bad decision-making, but when I say bad decision-making, I mean that you repeatedly, like if you are on your 5th DUI in 2 years because you just keep making that same choice over and over again. Yeah. If you're a minor in possession because you were drinking a beer when you were 18 on the beach with your friends during spring break, disclose it. It's not going to keep you out. We're not going to hold that against you. If you were caught with alcohol in the dorms, if you have a academic dishonesty thing that you have to disclose because you were found responsible for, let's say, plagiarism because you failed to cite something on a paper that you wrote your freshman year, it's not going to keep you out. I still need you to disclose it. The reason I'm telling you this is there are people who are either embarrassed or they think, oh, if I don't disclose it, they'll let me in and they'll figure it out later on. If you don't report it and it's found later on, then you will have to explain it to us, the law school. We will have to go back to the admissions committee and they will have to decide whether or not they would have let you in knowing that. They probably would, but still it's embarrassing because then you have to go through the honor council. It could be an honor code violation. And depending on what it is, you're going to have to explain it to the bar later on when you want to sit for the bar exam, and they could prevent you from sitting for the bar, which means you would have gone to law school and earned a degree that you can't sit for the bar for. So don't do that to yourself. Just err on the side of disclosure. Trust me, it's not that big of a deal. It becomes a bigger deal when you don't disclose things.
I always tell people this because it's not apocryphal for me. The guy who sat next to me in contracts, my first year in law school, failed to disclose something on his application and then failed to disclose it when he applied to take the bar. And the bar found out and called my law school and was angry, like, this kid didn't disclose. And the law school's like, yeah, well, he didn't disclose it to us either. And they revoked his diploma.
Yep.
So he had 3 years of law school debt and didn't even have a degree to show for it. So I
That's
take
such
that
a
very,
good
very
skill.
seriously.
It's so harmless. Like so many of the things, like it's not going to hurt you at all. It's not disclosing because remember, all of the lawyer jokes aside, remember the field that you were trying to enter. And remember that we are supposed to be, held up to the highest integrity, the highest honesty. You have to show these as your character, or they're not going to let you practice. The people who have bad, integrity issues typically end up getting disbarred. So don't be that person. We all know one. Addendums. Anytime that there's anything on your application where you're just like, they're probably going to wonder about this, write an addendum. If it is, let's say your freshman year, I'm just going to make an example. Freshman year, didn't go to classes, kind of got out on your own for the first time and you were living that college life for a hot minute and it affected your grades. You were not a strong student when you started, but eventually you settled down, you took a class that you actually fell in love with the content and decided to major in that, and your grades excelled and you did a fantastic job and you graduated with, really high grades towards the end. Write an addendum. Just explain that. I have a very simple formula for writing addendums, whether they're grade addendums or LSAT addendums, or even character and fitness. Acknowledge what happened, take any responsibility if you have any to take, tell us what you did differently, and then show us the outcome. So for the example that I gave you, I would write something along the lines of, and these are only 1 to 2 paragraphs. So something along the lines of, as you can see from my freshman year on my transcript, I suffered academically, and this is because I was immature, I was not attending classes, I wasn't taking college seriously. So acknowledge what happened, took responsibility, and then tell us what you did differently. So once I took a class that I actually really enjoyed, I ended up majoring in that. I started going to all of my classes, and I excelled academically. Told us what you did differently, pointed to the outcome. Perfect. If you had one bad semester your junior year because you were sick, maybe it was mental health issues, maybe it was an actual physical ailment, you could still do the same thing. So you can say, as you can see, my spring semester of my junior year of college, my grades dipped. I was going through a medical issue, and here's where you take responsibility, even though the medical issue probably not your responsibility, but you could say something along the lines of, I probably should have taken a leave of absence, but I believed that I could still be successful. So a little bit of responsibility there, but saying, I ended up getting my medical issues under control. I went to tutoring. I caught up on my classes and I was able to catch back up. And as you can see, I excelled academically my last year. Something like that. Very, very simple. It just shows us maturity. One of the things I want you to think about is, I know that you probably heard the term, we do a holistic review, right? But nobody really explains what that means. And here's what it means to me. When I'm reviewing your application, I'm looking at everything as a whole. I'm looking at every single part of it and how it works together to paint the picture of you. So what I'm looking for is, I want you to show me. We have a saying in the admissions world, and it's show, don't tell. I don't want you to tell me, I'm really strong academically and I'm very mature and I'm dedicated to studying and I really want to help other people. If you want to say those, it's fine, but really I want you to show me. I want you to show me that you are academically strong by your GPA and by the classes that you took and how rigorous they were. Did you have a near 4.0, but you took mostly intro classes to keep your grades up? Or did you challenge yourself academically and, maybe have a 3.6 or something like that? Both of those are going to interest me, but, again, it shows me that you are challenging yourself academically when you take those harder courses. When I'm looking at your personal statement, I want to learn something new about you that's not in the rest of the application, whether that's, you overcoming a major hardship or achieving some outstanding achievement that took you a long time to earn, or doing the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours to perfect some sort of skill over the course of your lifetime. Whatever it is that you want to write about, I want it to be something unique to you and new that is not in the rest of the application. When I'm looking at your resume, the reason I'm looking at your resume is I want to see what you chose to do outside of class and outside of work. Like, are you active in your community? Are you active in your college community or off campus? Do you give back to others? I'm looking for maturity, dedication, service to others, learning from failure, rising to a challenge, all of these things that make a really strong person. You can tell me all of that through your entire application, through your letters of recommendation. What do other people say about you? I don't know. I'm looking at everything in totality to learn what it is about you. And why I should invite you into our law community. Every year we build a community of students based on who we admit. So we want to make sure that you're a good fit. I hope that made sense.
No, it did. It's always nice to hear that I'm telling people the right things, because that's something that I really try to emphasize. I get a lot of students asking me, what should I do outside of class? I'm like, it doesn't, it's up to you, right? It's got to be something that's personal to you. But I tell them, like, if you end up writing your personal statement about how much you love animals and there's nothing on your resume to suggest that you worked with animals, that you got a job related to them, that you took classes related, something, then that looks weird. You just sort of want to think about, like you said, the whole picture. Like, what is it? Who are you as a person and how are you going to display that information? But there's no one right person to be. You just have to be yourself and have that reflected in your application.
I think that's the hardest part of putting together your application is making it about you and not what you think we want to hear. Trust me, there is nothing that we want to hear. We want to hear from you, and we want to know you. And we read, we had 1,600 applications this last year. We have a pretty good BS meter. So we can tell when you're not being sincere and when you're being truly genuine. And this actually is perfect timing, because what I have on the screen is diversity statement. You do not have to have a diversity statement. If you don't feel like you need one, if you have given us all the information that you feel that we need, perfect, you don't need one. But if there's anything about your perspective, your experiences in life that you feel that you want to share with us that will help us, know that you could share this with others, and that's what diversity is about. And as you can see, diversity covers a lot of different things: culture, sex, race, like everything, work experience, academic experience. We had one that wrote one about being from a town of 400 and moving to a town of 400,000. That's culture shock. That is diverse. And having to acclimate and having to adjust and figure out where they fit into that. I do want to give you a cautionary tale about the diversity statement. If you don't need one, don't write one. If you don't feel like you have anything to add that is diverse and real, and not kind of made up, don't write one. I did have somebody who wrote one a few years ago, and she wrote it about an experience from 2 years before she submitted her application. And it was about her family and her going on a cruise to Jamaica, a luxury cruise. And when they got to the island, the touristy side of the island is full of money, very rich, lots of exciting things to see. Beautiful. And she and her family went and toured the other side of the island. And that is where there's poverty, crime, gangs, like extreme poverty. And it was the first time that she had experienced that. And while I'm reading this, I'm like, wow, that must have been like a unique, really profound experience. And that's how she wrote it. This was a profound experience, and it changed her life and made her want to go out and help others and, truly take on homelessness and poverty and all of that. And I'm like, cool, that's amazing. So then I started looking at the rest of her application, and I looked at her classes. I was like, man, she must have taken, this was 2 years ago, she had to have taken some, social justice classes and maybe some social work and some other things, and nothing at all. I think it was like mostly fashion design and, that's fine, but nothing involving what she talked about. So I was like, okay, but it's got to be on her resume, right? Like she's got to be doing some outreach, working with like, shelters and all kinds of things like that. Nothing, not one soup kitchen event did she ever serve food, nothing at all. So it felt very disingenuous that she put that, because again, show, don't tell. She told us something, but she did not back it up by showing it. So I think that was exactly what you were talking about. I'm sorry about repeating it, but keep that in mind.
That's really interesting. What an interesting thing to have chosen for a diversity statement, honestly. One time I was a tourist with poor people. That doesn't really I'm not really like 1 week doesn't seem like it would really necessarily dramatically shift your perspective. It could, but yeah, apparently it
didn't.
It did not. That's
No.
really interesting.
So yeah, and you can see on the rest of this, it's all just information that is helpful.
That's great.
But yeah. Also, I wanted to show you guys our view book. I wanted to show you, you can go through all of this. It takes you through the whole student experience and student organizations and all this other good stuff. But what I wanted to show you is what your very first year of law school would look like. That's on page 11. So do you recognize anybody in that photo?
Oh, no. I'm excited about your first year classes, honestly.
Yes. So this is exactly what your classes would look like. We even register you for your classes once you are admitted, and we're getting closer to orientation. We register you for your classes, tell you what section you're in. We tell you what books to buy and when to show up. So you don't have to do anything other than all the work your first year. But yeah, so you'll have Civ Pro, contracts, torts, and then that legal practice class that runs that entire first year. And there's also a 1 credit class called Introduction to the Study of Law. this is where you're going to learn how to write a brief and outline a case and how to, speak when you get called on and not be a deer in the headlights. So, and it's a really good way to get an A pretty easily, as long as you do the work. So that's kind of nice. That did not exist until about 2 or 3 years ago. So it wasn't there when I was here, but that would have been nice. And then what your spring semester will look like. So tells you exactly what your first year will look like. And you can go to, I think it's 7. Okay, yeah. So this is another way that we are unusual in our law school. We have a very high number of required advanced curriculum courses. We have 7 upper level courses, which is a lot more than other law schools, but it makes you completely well-rounded as a law student coming out. It also helps you prepare a little bit better for the bar. I would never have taken income taxation if it were not required, but I did, and I actually use it. So I'm not sad that I took it, but so this tells you, and you can take them in any order that you want to, starting after the summer after your first year of law school. This again goes into geography and where our students go, and the breakdown. We had almost 91% of gold standard employment 10 months out of after graduation. But this is the other thing I wanted to show you. These are all of our elective classes that we offer. So there's so many, and it varies so widely. And 2 of the ones that I wanted to pinpoint here, one of them is wine law, so vineyard and winery law. So if you want to go work in Napa or in Fredericksburg or wherever and work for wineries, you can do that from our law school. So that's kind of a cool class and a unique one. But the other one I wanted to point out was space law. I said I would bring it back, and I did. This is not Space Force. This is space law. So, it's a lot like maritime law. You think of international waters having laws still associated with them. Space also has laws associated with them. There's tort law, there's contracts, there's, international, like all kinds of different laws. If you think about, if you are a corporation and I'm a government, and we both have satellites up in space, and mine breaks down and starts drifting into yours and hits it, and debris goes everywhere and smashes into yours. It's kind of like a car crash in space. So there's got to be some liability there. Who's responsible for what? Also, now we have space debris floating around out there. And I was watching I watch the news in the morning before I go to work, and they're talking about this now. There's so much debris up in space that it is awful. So
there was just a couple of weeks ago, the folks on the space station had to sequester themselves because I think Russia blew up one of its satellites.
Yes.
To check. And then there was stuff going at them. That's so interesting. Gosh, I wish I'd been able to take space law. That's really cool.
You can still be a space lawyer.
Right? I have a JD. I could be a space lawyer.
Not too late. So yeah, and Elon, all these different companies are now starting to do space travel. There's so much involving space law that 5 years from now, somebody could ask you, what kind of law do you practice, and you could say you're a space lawyer. So
that is so cool.
I think that's neat.
Yeah.
But so yeah, look over the view book, and if you want to see the individual parts of what each of these is, I think you go to academics, and then Office of the Registrar, which of course, I don't know what I'm doing, and then academic catalog, and course descriptions. And so this gives you all the different classes that we offer from first year to advanced required, and then all of the others, and you can learn about what each one of them actually covers. So if you want to go and do a deep dive into what we offer, you can absolutely do that. I already told you about the clinics. I told you about dual degrees and advocacy. I want to get into some external links that I think will be helpful for you guys. I know I already showed you the one on how your grades could be summarized or converted. Another one is just the typical JD application. Hopefully, if you guys are in the process of applying, you already know what this looks like. But for any of you freshmen out there, this is kind of some good information. There's little checklists on what you need to do to navigate the process. Every single thing that you do to apply to law school is going to go through your lsac.org account. So, you can go step by step through all of that. If you are studying for the LSAT, there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. I'm sure you guys know about Khan Academy. Hopefully you're using it for math and science in undergrad, but they also have free LSAT prep. This is not the end all be all of LSAT prep, but it is free, and I love free. So save money. This whole process from applying to law school, paying the credential assembly service fees that they charge now, I think it's like $45 per school that you are applying to, paying for application fees for law schools that have those. We do not. So we're already saving you $60 right off the bat by not having you do an application fee. Okay. But taking the LSAT, studying for the LSAT, using programs, actually paying for law school and everything, it's so expensive. So save money every single step that you can. Oh, pro tip, once you're in law school, a great way to save money on your bar prep, which you'd pay for after law school, is, or at the end of law school, become a bar prep rep. So our law school specifically has Barbary, Themis, and Kaplan as the programs that are represented within our law school, but you can take any bar prep program that you want to. It doesn't have to be one of those three, but I approached the Kaplan table in my second year of law school and asked, how do I become a rep? Because I found out that if you rep for them, you get your bar prep for free. So by selling it to other people, you get yours for free. And so I became one and got my bar prep for free, and that saved me almost $3,000. So pro tip, Khan Academy is free. Another way that you can save money, I don't think that I have this one up here, but LSAC fee waiver program. I tell everybody that I meet that's applying to law school, I have no idea what your financial situation is, none whatsoever. But I tell everybody, apply to this. Sometimes they give it to people who I don't feel like really needed it. And sometimes they deny people who really did need it just because their application wasn't that strong. So take this application seriously. But if you get it, not only will they pay for up to 6 CAS fees, so that pays for 6 law schools that you are applying to, but they also pay for your LSAT, actually 2 LSATs. So yeah, and they have 2 tiers. So if you don't qualify for tier 1, they have a second tier that pays for 1 LSAT and I think 1 CAS fee. There you go. Save money where you can. Also, I want you to remember that I said this. I want you to Google the law schools that you are applying to. I want you to find out if they charge an application fee. If you Google ours, you will find out that we do not charge an application fee, which means you do not have to email me and ask me to give you a fee waiver for our application fee. It's already done. You don't have to ask us. But if the law schools that you are applying to do have an application fee, I want you to be very professional and very polite and draft them an email. Don't call them and ask them because they'll ask you to email them. Draft them an email from a professional email address, whether that's your EDU, your school one, or your own personal one, but not like, Big Mama 73. Don't do that. I want you to use a professional one and ask them if they would send you a fee waiver for their application. Most of the times they're going to say yes, and it costs you nothing to ask. So definitely ask. If they say no, be polite and say thank you for your time. I still look forward to applying to your law school. I will tell you, we recently had somebody ask us for a fee waiver for the CAS fee. We are a small state school. We cannot waive a CAS fee. What waiving a CAS fee from a school means is that they pay for your CAS fee to LSAC because the LSAC is still charging that fee. We can't waive those. We can't afford that. Some private schools can, so you can ask for that. But if they say no, just graciously say thank you for your time. I look forward to applying anyway. But we had somebody who said, okay, well, unfortunately, that means I'm not going to be applying to you. And we were like, okay, sounds good. Have a good day. So, be professional, be polite always.
We have 998 other people. So.
Rankings are not everything, y'all. I love that people think that if you're not in the top 50 law schools, like I'm deigning to apply to you. And I just want to let you know, we had 158 students who came here out of 1,600 applications. So if you don't want to come, we probably have somebody who might want to replace you. So keep that in mind for all law schools that you are applying to, and don't ever treat a law school like they are beneath you, especially not in writing. Don't do that, y'all. One of the other things I wanted to let you know is if you are choosing a different LSAT prep company, and Khan Academy is free. The LSAC just started their own LSAT prep program. And they also, I think it's $100, will buy you access to 70 real prior exams. So I get asked this question all the time: what's the best way to study for the LSAT? And I'm going to give you the lawyer answer. It depends, because you might be the person who can buy a book and teach yourself. You might be the person who needs to hire a tutor to teach you. You might be able to do one of these online courses and, you know, learn it really well that way. But the other question I get asked is, when should I take the LSAT? And my best advice is when you are consistently scoring in the realm that you want to be in, like the range that you want to be in on the day of the actual exam, when it's timed and you know that you're taking lots of exams. So I think if you take 10 practice exams and you are consistently scoring in the range that you want to be in, and those were timed exams, then you're probably ready to sit for the actual LSAT. But there are tons of programs out there. There's Kaplan, there's Princeton Review, there's a million different programs out there. Google those too and see if they have a fee waiver program, because I know that Kaplan does. I know that if you are within like a certain GPA range and you apply and fit their other criteria, they will either pay for your LSAT and your prep program, or they will give you a lower cost. So check those out. Save money anywhere that you can on all of this. Sorry, I know I'm going over time here. I apologize. I'm so sorry. You guys can stop watching when you want to, because it's a recording, or skip forward, but you'll miss some stuff. Going back to the brochure, if you click on here, which is again interactive, if you click on the Uniform Bar Exam, it will take you to the Uniform Bar Exam website, and you can view on here, and you can click on these and find out what the score is, like what they need, what the Texas exam components are, what the eligibility is, like all of these different things. You know that you have to get a 270 to pass here. Weirdly, the highest one that I can think of is Alaska. Theirs is a 280. So all the ones in the country, like theirs is the highest LSAT score that you need. But you can see the minimum scores, like you can look at all of this. So just letting you know that information is out there. And I'm running down to, I just want to let you guys know, if you do want to reach out to me, if you want to set up a meeting with me individually to ask questions, first, I want you to look at the website. I want you to see like what all information is provided there, but then I'm always happy to answer questions for you. But you can see my Calendly is on here, and I'm just Shawn_Adams. And you can work with my, this works with my calendar. So you can just pick a time and a date that actually works for you. So you can see like on the 30th, I'm available at 2 p.m. So just letting you know. And then also, this is very odd, but you still should know about it. We started a TikTok video or TikTok channel. And if you want to learn about Texas Tech law from the students who are actually here, this is great. And you know, you're going to be scrolling through TikTok anyway, so you might as well spend some time. They cover things like, what should you be doing this summer before law school? I'm just going to give you a spoiler here. Nothing. Do whatever you want. Don't do anything law related. Just enjoy your summer. You know, what you can do to get ready for financial aid. Should you bring your pet? Does military service help you prepare for law school? What's it like to be a non-traditional student? Like all of these different things. One of my favorite law professors in the world, Professor Chipinelli, gives you advice on, you know, what you should be doing as a 1L, you know, what it's like to be in a criminal defense clinic. Yeah, our law school actually had a, we had a Halloween like competition there. We did some roll bounce. We went to a roller skating rink off campus. You know, lots of information. Also, if you're stuck in finals and you don't know really what you're doing, use the Pomodoro method. I talk about that here. So lots of great information for you, you know, if you want it. That's it.
You know, I now have complete TikTok envy, and I'm going to have to start a TikTok account. This is so much fun. Is that
It's
cat,
great.
uh, the second row down? Is that Cat Clopton?
Yes, yes, it is.
I was like, I knew I recognized Cat. That's awesome. Cat's
Yeah,
a
she's in a
UNT
couple of our
student.
videos. She does a lot with the different organizations to help things like CASA, helping the homeless, all of those things that the girl who wrote the diversity statement should have been doing.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Oh, that's so wonderful. Yeah, Cat's one of ours,
I
everybody.
love that.
Yeah.
Now, in the future, if maybe in the spring or something like that, if you guys want to do, I'm going to be doing a resume workshop, kind of going over what we're looking for, what we don't want to see, things that, you know, can help you kind of build yours. And also, I may have a video, or we could do one live, a personal statement workshop where you are actually serving as the admissions committee members, and we will review, I think it's 6 different personal statements, and you can critique what you liked, what you don't like, and hopefully that will inspire you for writing yours. So
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, definitely. Send me the information, and I will make sure everybody gets information about that. That's
absolutely.
awesome.
But yeah,
Oh, Shawn, this has been so fantastic. Thank you very, very much for all this wonderful information. I think it's great to learn more about Texas Tech, but you also provided so much information about the application process, and I really I know my students are going to enjoy that. So
always happy to help. I love you guys. You guys know that I love UNT students. Thank you so much for letting me speak. And sorry I'm a little long-winded, but hopefully it was all very helpful.
it was great. Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a good night.